Have you ever thought about whether it's possible to crack your password simply by trying different combinations? How long would that take? Let's start with the theory. Suppose, for simplicity, that a password is tried at a rate of 1 per second. Then, 1 second equals 1 password attempt, and the following amount of time would be required for a brute force attack. For 100k passwords, it is needed 28 hours. For 1 million passwords, 11.5 days. 10 million passwords, 3.8 months. 100 million passwords, 3.2 years. And for 1G passwords, it's going to take 31 years. Everything is clear with time. So, does it turn out that everything depends on the number of combinations of our password? And how many can there be? Firstly, it depends on the type of characters used. There can be 4 types: a letter, a digit, an uppercase letter, and a special symbol. Secondly, on the number of characters or the length of the password. Let's look at the simplest cases. For writing commands, we will use masks, which are commonly used to record passwords in the most popular brute force programs. These are John and Hashcat. The masks are formed as follows. If you are interested in how they are decrypted, pause this screen and read. Unfortunately, brute forcing on modern computers is quite fast, significantly faster than 1 password per second. For example, cracking a PSK hash of Wi-Fi on an average graphics card, which is often used for this purpose, can work at a speed of several million per second. Therefore, to estimate the complexity, it's sufficient to just drop 6 zeros. So, for example, 218 trillion becomes 218 million seconds. Let's see what the resilience would be for this password. It's 8 characters long and uses all 4 character groups. This equals 6.6 quadrillion combinations. Even if the password is cracked at a rate of 6 million a second, this still amounts to 1.1 billion seconds, or 34 years. But what if a powerful corporation with colossal computing resources is against you? In this video, we will discuss whether in our time, someone can really brute force any password, and if this someone is not just a hacker, but, for example, a government. This video was created by Sumsub, the verification platform. We make the digital world people-friendly yet secure. Brute force in hacking refers to the method of attempting various combinations through a forceful approach. In brute forcing, passwords or access keys are typically the targets. There are online and offline brute force attacks. The key difference between offline and online is who performs the password check. Online, it's the server. Offline, it's the hacker. We will not discuss online brute forcing here. In our times, it's practically unfeasible, as you will simply be blocked after a few incorrect password attempts. Plus, the password cracking speed online is generally low. We will focus on offline brute forcing, which is only limited by the speed of the processor or graphics card. Imagine you are someone with valuable assets to protect, and you store crucial data on your computer. For instance, access keys to assets worth hundreds of millions of dollars, or a database containing personal details of QAnon theory supporters. You have an encrypted hard drive like BitLocker, VeraCrypt, Lux, and on it, a password manager with an encrypted database like KeepPass. How could someone access your data? The first thing they would likely do is steal your laptop. With sufficient resources, this is not too difficult. Theft combined with hacking, and your laptop ends up in the wrong hands. Or, in the case of a government, they might just officially seize it during a search. Next, they would remove the laptop's cover, extract the hard drive, and connect to it directly. They'll see the partition table, but won't be able to connect to the partitions and view the files. As you can see, the system displays this. To access the file system, the encryption key is needed, which in turn is encrypted with a password. To crack it, we essentially need the hash sum of the password. What is a hash? Well, passwords are no longer transmitted over the network or stored on hard drives or databases in plain text. That's true, isn't it? Hopefully, you don't have a file named passwords on your computer. Do you? In general, passwords are stored as hashes. Let's take a password, QWERTY. Then, Using a software algorithm called a hash function, we read this password and calculate its hash sum. From QWERTY, we get this sum. This is an MD5 hash sum. This sum is the value corresponding to our QWERTY password, and it's called hash. It's this hash that can be stored on your hard drive or in the database. When you enter a password, the hash function is activated again, calculating the sum of the password you entered. Then, this sum is compared with a control hash sum, and if they match, bingo, you are authenticated. But there's one important feature of the hash: irreversibility. That is, the hash sum's value cannot be converted back into a password. It's just such mathematics. The only way to recover a password from a hash sum is by brute forcing input values, calculating the hash sum for each and comparing them. This is exactly how offline brute force works. Particularly vulnerable to hacking are weak passwords, like our example with QWERTY. By the way, this type of password is called key walk. It refers to a pattern programmed using a keyboard. The main feature of key walk is visual memorization. Using such passwords, we don't remember them, but remember how to type them on the keyboard, in a snake, circle, crisscross pattern, and so on. Here are the main types of weak passwords. Dictionary password, a common word. Too short, within a range that can be fully brute forced. Consistent keyboard combination, key walk. Personal data, distortion of specific words relevant to the situation, like the name of a project or a website's name. Thanks to specialized hacking programs, it's not necessary for the hacker to match a weak password exactly, letter by letter, with the victim's password. It's enough to understand or assume the core of the password and then add a second or third phase of matching. Here's what it can look like. The first phase is the basics, usually simple words. For example, access. The second phase, combinations of these very words. For example, all combinations of 2 words. Or all combinations of 3 words. Combinations using a specific symbol are also possible. The number of all possible words is finite, and no matter how whimsical a combination of words you come up with, the computer will generate that sequence too. Finally, the third, perhaps most important phase, modification or distortion. One can try to distort the word according to established rules. For example, replacing the letter S with a $sign or an O with 0. These operations in specialized programs are performed by what are called rules. They also know how to add prefixes, suffixes, try to swap uppercase letters for lowercase and vice versa, or replace letters with others that are similar in appearance. Ultimately, the conceptual generation of weak passwords looks something like this. Here is an example of how exactly a hacker would think while trying to crack a password. The implementation of brute forcing all possible words is not that complex. All it takes is a list of all words. We are now on a website that contains such a database and its size. There are 333,000 words with various endings. By the way, such a text file weighs only 2.7 megabytes. Next, we might need their combinations since each word can be used as a phrase, or using a delimiter. To generate such passwords, you can use a program. If you're interested, pause and take a look. We have commented on each command. Generating combinations of all special symbols with each word. Then we get combinations of all words through all special symbols. Similarly for password phrases consisting of 3 words. Now just combinations of 3 sets of words, where 2 of them end on a special symbol. The final step would be the distortion of the generated password phrases. People often enhance the strength of their passwords with capital letters, special symbols, or numbers at the end. For this purpose, so-called rules are used in password cracking. Pause here if this is important to you and read our comments on the commands. A common practice is also replacing letters with similar-looking numbers and symbols. This is also accounted for with rules. Depending on the set of letters, each character is replaced with a similar looking one. Ultimately, with this approach, we can generate almost any insecure password. And in reality, we can find almost anything in the list of candidates. With the first command, we made combinations of all words through a special symbol, and with the second one, we applied the above-mentioned rules, adding a special symbol at the beginning and end of each phrase, and performing leet transformations. So, let's return to our situation. Someone has stolen your laptop and gained unrestricted access to your hard disk. What will they do? Dictionary password. First, they'll check the password against dictionaries. This is the simplest path, requiring practically nothing from the hacker. Large dictionaries already contain password phrases of all groups, as they are often formed from real site leaks and contain real passwords. For example, the most popular dictionary RockU, or another example, a huge 30GB dictionary WeakPass2. Also, for every password, the hacker tries the top 64 most popular password distortions. The Hashcat program comes with its built-in set of the most popular types of distortions. Distortions will make those same familiar transformations, substitutions of numbers, special characters, leet speak replacements, etc. There will be exactly 64 for each candidate password. The password is not cracked, and the hacker realizes that the user is not so naive, and they will need to think harder. Next, the hacker will use a utility, and for security reasons, we won't show you its site. This program can generate passwords based on key walks. The KWP program takes a set of keyboard symbols, initial values, as well as the number of keys and turns, and generates all possible combinations of close symbols obtained by pressing on the keyboard. Let's say now the password is cracked. Next, the hacker penetrates the file system and quickly finds a specific file by extension, the KeePassPassword database. This is a specialized, free, open-source password manager. Using a special script from the set of the similar program John, the hacker parses the KeePassPassword database and extracts the necessary material for brute forcing. The hacker runs the hash through dictionaries and the keywalk generator, but in vain. Then they proceed to the following targeted password attacks. Knowing enough about the victim, the hacker tries to create targeted dictionaries. Generating a password based on the company name, applying previously described distortions. Generating a password based on all possible company employee surnames, appended with 2 letters or initials at the end, and applying leet speak distortions. Bingo! The password is cracked.
One of the most effective ways to prevent a brute force attack is two-factor authentication, also known as 2FA. This adds a second layer of security to your authentication systems by requiring users to provide 2 forms of identification before accessing their accounts. Hi again, this is Lucas from Sumsub. Here at Sumsub, we can catch fraud instantly, providing businesses and users with a one-time password backed up by biometric authentication, such as liveness. With liveness in place, only you can access your account, no matter how hard the fraudsters try. Your users get authenticated instantly on their smartphone or webcam in one quick motion. To learn more about this unique technology, click on the link below.
How can you avoid being a victim of brute forcing? Your password should not contain words or combinations of words. It should not have keyboard combinations like keywalk, and it should be of sufficient length. Combining all 3 recommendations is important. Even if your password is mega long but consists of words, it can be cracked, as the number of words is finite, and their combinations are also finite. Even if you put a special symbol at the beginning or end, it only adds a bit of resilience. And as we showed in the examples above, with enough effort, it will still likely be cracked. If your password includes keywalk keyboard combinations, it's also vulnerable, as the number of such combinations is finite. Finally, the length and types of characters. It's important to use all 4 groups of characters and have a length of at least 8. In other words, a resilient password is a completely random set of characters from all groups of sufficient length. The best solution here is automatic password generation. as your brain will involuntarily want to use a convenient, easy-to-remember symbol. To assess the resilience of such a password, you only need a bit of math. If we return to the situation where the hacker was trying to hack our 8-character Wi-Fi password, and instead of 4 GPUs, the attackers had 1,000 video cards, then cracking this password instead of 34 years would take a couple of months. Add more power, for example 10,000 GPUs, and then cracking the password will take only 6 days. But what if our password was not 8 characters, but 10? Let's try adding a couple of characters to the password. Now it's 10 characters from 4 groups and already 6 quintillion combinations, which will now take 1,283 years on 1,000 GPUs, or 128 years on 10,000 GPUs, making an attack on your password absolutely pointless. Of course, there's a chance that your password will be cracked in the first year, about 1%. If this worries you, then just add another character to your password, and now it will have to be cracked for almost 12,000 years on 1,000 video cards. Feel the power of each character on your password. And if your password consists of 20 characters? In general, don't skimp on the length of your password. Remember, each additional character of your password makes it 95 times stronger and correspondingly almost 100 times more expensive to crack. And answering the question asked at the beginning of the episode, no, even a government is not omnipotent. If we are, of course, talking about influencing technology, not a person. Because simple math cannot be bribed even with big money, and cannot be scared even with the most terrible weapon.